There's something major in those dockets. Something is shaking the muscle fibers of the hearts of the powerful and the beautiful Turkish delights known as hosh karimaimas. There's something in those dockets. Something that is making what would be a celebrated and embraced policing decision turn out to be a resented and condemned decision. There's something that is politically noxious in those dockets. Something's in the waters. Something is hitting the waters. There's something explosive in those 121 Mkhwanazi dockets. I'm almost certain of it because of the way people are behaving now that the dockets have been returned to the Political Killings Task Team. Welcome to another episode of The Dissection. We must talk about these dockets and the reaction of the president. First, the Minister of Police issued a statement and did an interview where he expressed displeasure that the 121 dockets had gone back to the Political Killings Task Team. That was surprising. Then, on Sunday, there was a report in the city press that the president is displeased that the dockets are back in the hands of the Political Killings Task Team. That leads to a core question. What's going on? What's in those dockets? What are people afraid of from those dockets? Today, Monday, the 1st of September, Spring Day, on Radio 702, there was discussion between Clement Manyatela and the president's spokesperson. And you could get from that the president is feeling some type of way about those dockets going back to Mkhwanazi. This is a small part of the discussion that happened today on 702 between Clement Manyatela and Vincent Magwenya, the spokesperson for the president. Just take a listen.
What exactly is the president concerned about regarding this decision by the National Commissioner?
Well, Clement, the president feels that it's important that the leadership of SAPS working together with the minister safeguards the integrity of the work of the Madlanga Commission. That includes avoiding tinkering with areas or issues that are going to be subject of that investigation. The issue of the KZN Political Killings Task Team, alongside with the removal of the dockets, featured quite prominently in the allegations that were made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. And it's an issue that certainly the commission will look into. Mm-hmm. And therefore, it is critical that those kinds of issues are not interfered with in any shape or form, mm-hmm. and that the commission is given the opportunity to look into them.
Okay, and I hear that, but the work of the police also needs to continue. So how do you draw the balance? If there are dockets out there that are sitting idle in the Deputy Commissioner's office, who is now suspended, and some of those dockets had instructions to arrest the suspects as claimed by General Mkhwanazi, then surely you can't wait for an inquiry to finish its job before those arrests are made. I mean, the inquiry can still do its work while the police also continue to do theirs.
Precisely, Clement, you're correct. That is why, in the terms of reference, there is a provision that all urgent matters that must be referred for either for further criminal investigation or prosecution, those matters will be referred to the relevant authorities immediately once the commission has looked into them. And so we could have had a scenario, for example, where in their submissions, the SAPS leadership will have said this is priority. They will have made their submissions around the issue, and the commission, on weighing the information and the evidence on the matter, will have then immediately, this matter must be referred to the relevant authorities for further criminal investigation or prosecution. And so you do not have a case where there are delays that will be occasioned by the commission seeking to complete its work before matters are referred back to police for further criminal investigation.
Aren't you worried about how this may be seen? Some may see it as interference from the president. The questions now the president is asking around the 121 dockets, because he's effectively raising displeasure about also an operational matter here, which is not where he should play.
Indeed, except that this is no ordinary operational matter. This is no ordinary administrative issue. Clement, we have to appreciate that the president was handed a problem in the form of numerous allegations concerning not only SAPS, but the entire criminal justice system. And the only mechanism that he had at his disposal to get to the bottom of these issues via a competent, independent authority was to set up a commission. He's taken a lot of criticism for doing so, notwithstanding that is something that's provided for within the Constitution. It would have been absurd for the president to just act on the basis of allegations coming from one person and taking those allegations to be the gospel truth. And so now that he's set up that commission, all he's asking is let's give the commission the space and the bit of time that it's been given to do its work and get to the bottom of these issues. We shouldn't have a case where matters that are within the scope of this commission are now being dealt with and corrective measures are being taken. Then the question will have been, why did it take so long for those corrective measures to be taken? Why are they being taken now? And so he's not interfering with the work of the police or the administrative powers of General Masemula. All he's saying is, do not begin to undermine the work of the commission or even raise suspicion that the work of the commission is being interfered with by touching and tinkering with areas that are already under the scope of the commission's investigation.
You know, there's something called a false dichotomy in logic. This is where you give two options and you pretend as if there's no other alternatives, right? If I say it's my way or the highway, that's a false dichotomy. I'm trying to pretend as if there are no other options available to you. You know, Mercedes-Benz used to have this ad, the best or nothing, as if you choose them or the other thing is. So point I'm making is that the my way or the highway argument ignores that you can use the subway, you can use the other roads. You don't have to necessarily use one particular way. So when a false dichotomy is used in public relations or in communications or in argument, it's an attempt to manufacture consent by limiting and blinkering your view only to the options that person has given you. So in the instance of the options that were available to the president after General Mkhwanazi made his allegations, it was not just a matter of either you go with what Mkhwanazi said or, do a commission. No, there were other options. There was the option of an SIU investigation. There was the option of firing the Minister of Police. There's the option of allowing the political killings task team to continue its work. It wasn't just a case of do what Mkhwanazi says or believe what Mkhwanazi said to the exclusion of any other alternative. So the argument that was presented to Clement as if there was no other alternative is not logically sound according to argumentative theory and common sense, right? So even if you do think that the commission was the right option, it has been put on ice with no timetable for thawing, no deforestation timetable. These guys said, hey, we need to procure critical infrastructure. They didn't tell us what the infrastructure was because the building is free. The personnel already has been provisioned and paid for. So what is the infrastructure? No budget has been allocated. There's no exigency or urgency from the treasury, from the presidency, where deviations, which are where you spend money on something that was not originally budgeted for. Maybe you're saying vote one, the president's budget. You say, okay, the money's going to come from there. There's a deviation. That deviation then will then be tabled before, I think it's the Standing Committee on Appropriations, and that's discussed there. That's the transparency mechanism which exists. So no deviation, no discussion about how to procure these IT infrastructural services, nothing. It's frozen. So even if you think the commission was going to be the right avenue for dealing with the Mkhwanazi allegations, it's frozen, right? Last week, the commission announced that it was ready to go, that we would hear everything on the 1st of September today, that they would be starting today. But now we've been told we must hold on for a little bit. We must stay on the call and wait for the next available call center agent, right? That's what we've been told, that the person who will come through will attend to this matter, the public matter of the year. We've been put on hold. Everyone is on hold with Vodacom. With the commission. It's been postponed. There's no line of sight. So in that status quo, how can you then be critical of the recommencement of the investigations which are already underway for a plethora of years by this political killings task team, which has a reputable track record in dealing with these issues? It doesn't make any sense. On top of the fact that the commission is on ice, right? A regulation was signed and gazetted that effectively negated any meaningful consequences from the people who are testifying at the someday maybe commission. The regulation stipulates that anyone who self-incriminates during their testimony cannot be criminally prosecuted for anything that they say at the commission. That's a very bizarre regulation in the sense that it negates the purpose of this from the public perspective, to hold these people accountable once you get the answers that you're looking for. To me, it sounds like a get-out-of-jail-free card, which goes beyond the ambit and the purposes of the commission and creates a moral hazard. The reason I'm saying this is because if I know, for example, if I was a hosh don, a hosh father, and I know I can conduct crime for decades. I can trade firearms, trade drugs, run a hit squad, have government contracts. I can cultivate relationships with politicians, police officers. I can message my brown Mkhwanazi, tell him that I'm being harassed by the police. And then he can message me back and tell me that the, people who are harassing me have been disbanded. If I know I can do all of this, and the only thing that will happen is that there will be a commission that says, confess everything and we'll forgive you. Like it's a church confession to the pastor. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Hey, is that how crime should be handled? Is that how law enforcement should be done? Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. And then you are told to go and do 5 Hail Marys and 14 such and such, our fathers. And then now you can go back into society, buy a soccer team, run for, politics, and maybe become a minister. Is that? Think about it. If that was available to criminals, doesn't that create a moral hazard? Doesn't that create a situation which now, as a aspiring hosh curry father, I'm a hosh curry, chap right now. I'm not a father, I'm just a young guy. And then I'm thinking and I'm looking how syndicates are being treated. I may actually think, well, this thing pays. I'll be taken care of. Let me go in. That's the danger with that regulation. So since that announcement that the dockets have gone home, the 121 juicy dockets, since that announcement on Thursday, we have seen a lot of very interesting developments, frustrations. Everybody seems to be unhappy in the political circles of the elites, but the streets are happy. This happiness discrepancy is quite interesting in and of itself. It's quite interesting because why are the politicians complaining but the streets are happy that the dockets are back in the hands of the general? Who knows that he can do it? There's no logical buoyancy amongst the unhappy. The arguments are not floating. They're not floating. Here are my final thoughts on this as things stand right now. Number one, in my view, the sending back of the dockets is an operational matter. It's not a political matter. And there should be no reason at this point for the minister or anybody else to be trying to referee the dockets. These are ongoing investigations that have been conducted for years by this team of experts who everybody says has been doing a good job. They've gotten convictions already. And we know that there are toaster-ready dockets in there. You can put the bread in and the toast will be buttered. Some people right now are actually practicing how to pick up soap with their toes. They're learning the going price of cigarettes in prison because of these dockets. Let the team do its work. I don't know why politicians would be now trying to say, no, these dockets must be adjudicated at the commission, etc. It seems peculiar. It seems like interference to me. In my view, this is my second point. The version given to the public by General Mkhwanazi is not the version of one man. And that's another argument which was raised in the discussion. It's a large team of expert police officers with reputations that are pristine, people who have been doing this work for a while, who've apprehended criminals and got convictions. So the testimony of a team leader of professionals is not one man's version as if he just woke up in the morning, and then went to the public and said, this is what is going on. This is an expert contribution that must be taken with a certain amount of gravitas, because it is not merely the version of one man. It's the version of a team leader who went to Parliament on the 5th of March, presented his concern, followed protocol, saw that nothing was happening, and was like, the only way I can get some movement here, because I'm seeing political interference, is to take this to the public and bring them into my confidence. That's what was done. You know, the testimony of a police officer in court is not a joke thing. It's not just a one person's version thing. Right? Obviously, these things still need to be ventilated much further, but I don't think we should just keep acting as if Mkhwanazi just came and spoke for himself, as if he's not a team leader, as if he's not presenting a body of work that was done by a task team that was actually put in place by the president. I think we just need to be aware of that, or keep it in mind. My third point is that it struck me that if the information in those dockets was touching an establishment enemy, they would have leaked by now. The fact that we don't know a lot of detail about those dockets, think about Digital Vibes. We got to find out every little piece of information about Digital Vibes. We still don't know what's in those 121 dockets. These 121 dockets are more mysterious right now than the Epstein files. We don't know what's in them, and we may keep talking about them for a long time, because it looks as if there's a contestation there. Imagine, though, if it was an establishment enemy. We would have seen spiderweb thingies. We would have known what the accused bought in Santon. A journalist would be, given this beat to consistently be reporting on, in the way that we saw with VBS, for instance. We would know every banana peel in their trash cans. We would know every cent that was spent. But we don't know a lot about the 121 dockets. And to me, that's quite interesting, because mainstream media has favorites, and there's been some reporting, about Vusi Matlala. We've seen reporting about Katiso Molefe, but not so much about these 121 dockets. But I promise you, if, let's say, a character like Julius Malema was implicated, there would be websites about the dockets by now. They would have leaked the same way the Gupta emails leaked. If, for instance, let's say Jacob Zuma was in those dockets, you would know every piece of information by now. I'm just pointing out that it's a curious feature to me that we don't know enough, right? Think about it, if it wasn't an establishment favorite who was in those dockets, there would be a Mkhwanazi t-shirt being sold by Nike in every mall right now. The Hosh fathers would be known in their totality. So whichever Hosh fathers are in those dockets, you are powerful fellows. You are getting high-level politicians to be concerned that the dockets have gone back to the task team that is supposed to deal with them. So here's my fourth point. I find that the reason, which was expressed by the president's spokesperson, right, the overall reasons not to be compelling, especially when you consider the extent of crime in South Africa. Crime is an emergency problem in South Africa, particularly organized crime, particularly when you take into cognizance the history, right? There's an established history of senior police officers working with gangsters in South Africa. So waiting for a commission which is frozen in ice while syndicates continue to run their businesses unperturbed is something that I think is not in the public interest. Right. And the reason I'm saying that there's a necessity for exigency and urgency with this is because we remember the Jackie Silebi saga. That in and of itself is a reason why this should not be treated as a usual moment, or trying to treat it as business as usual. And if you think further that these same syndicates, these people who we've seen who are implicated in assassinations, implicated in billions of rands of scandals, then they're given time to tamper with the evidence on the ground, to intimidate witnesses, because we're saying, no, everything must be ventilated at the commission. That doesn't make any sense in totality to me. I actually think, this is my closing thought, that the political killings task team should make the necessary arrests and let those allegations be tested in a court of law in front of the public with the full sanction of prison time being available. I mean, the innocent have no reason to fear those dockets or to be nervous about them. Anybody watching this video is not scared of the dockets, right? Unless those people watching a hosh curry behavior, participants, ministers of hosh curriness. No, the people don't have a reason to worry. Let the public see what is in those dockets in court. Right? Zuma was accused for a long time of trying to avoid his day in court. Let the hosh dons go to court and explain themselves in court. Explain why some of them have multiple passports. Explain whether or not they've been having, international transactions between a variety of countries which need to be accounted for. Explain their involvement in some of this underworld and some of these government contracts that they've been winning. Let what was done in the dark come into the light. Let's chat in the comment section.